Hello and welcome to another session of our e-content series. Dear students, today we are going to discuss an interesting topic which is related to the flowers. As all of us know that flowers are the reproductive organs of a plant which develop from the floral buds. In fact, each flower is a highly condensed or modified shoot specialized to perform sexual reproduction. Plants produce different types of flowers which may vary in size, shape, color, number and arrangement. Presence of flowers is a characteristic feature of the flowering plants called as angiosperms. Dear viewers, have you ever noticed how plants present their flowers? It's quite interesting to know that every plant presents its flowers in a characteristic manner. Plants present their flowers differently on flowering branches which are quite distinct from the vegetative branches. The manner in which flowers appear in a particular plant is known as inflorescence. Therefore, an inflorescence is a collection or aggregation of flowers on an individual plant. The stalk of an inflorescence is known as peduncle and the main axis bearing the flowers within the inflorescence is called as rachis. The peduncle usually bears no leaves. Each flower may be attached to the main axis by a stalk called as pedicel and the flowers are thus termed as pedicellate. Sometimes the flowers do not possess a stalk and are termed as sessile. The inflorescences may sometimes contain modified leaves called as bracts, which may be scale-like or leaf-like. In some cases, the bracts are numerous and are present in many series or whorls to form an involucre. An involucre is a common feature beneath the inflorescences of many families like Apiaceae, Asteraceae, Dipsacaceae and Polygonaceae. A bract may either be present on the peduncle below the whole inflorescence or within the inflorescence. The bracts are usually green but sometimes also brilliantly colored, as we can see in bougainvillea. In certain plants, especially the monocotyledons like palms and arums, a large bract forms a sheath to enclose the flower cluster. This bract is called as spathe. The spathe is usually petal-like and showy, as we can see in anthurium. Based on the presence or absence of bracts, inflorescences are termed as bracteate or ebracteate respectively. The flower stalk, which arises from a subterranean stem in the acaulescent or stemless plants, is known as scape. It's either completely leafless or may bear one or several bracts. The scape may be simple or branched. The common examples of scapose plants are tulip, primrose, dandelion, hyacinth, etc. The inflorescences in plants are of different types depending upon the mode of development and the arrangement of flowers. On the basis of origin, usually 4 types of inflorescences are recognized. These are terminal, axillary, intercalary and cauliflorous. The terminal type of inflorescence arises at the apex of a plant, while the axillary type of inflorescence develops from the axils of leaves. Intercalary inflorescence develops in the middle of a stem. In this case, the main stem grows continuously even after the formation of an inflorescence. It's found in bottlebrush and pineapple. Cauliflorous type of inflorescence grows directly from the woody trunk and is found in Cercis silicostrum, commonly known as Judas tree, Theobroma cocoa, commonly known as cocoa plant, and Arctocarpus, which is commonly known as jackfruit. Based on the growth and development of the main axis, the inflorescences in plants are classified into four main types. These are Racemose inflorescence, Cymose inflorescence, compound inflorescence, and special inflorescence. First of all, we will discuss the Racemose inflorescence. This type of inflorescence is also termed as indeterminate. In this type of inflorescence, peduncle or the main axis continues to grow indefinitely and does not terminate into a flower. As a result of this, a large number of flowers are produced in an acropetal succession, that is from base to apex, with the oldest flower at the base and the youngest towards the growing tip. In some cases, the main axis becomes shortened and produces flowers in clusters. In such cases, the maturation or the opening of flowers is said to be centripetal. That is, the older flowers are present towards the periphery and the younger ones towards the center. There are many types of racemose inflorescence. Based on the elongation of the main axis or peduncle, the racemose inflorescences are categorized into three groups. One, in which the main axis is elongated. Second, in which the main axis is shortened. And third, in which the main axis is flattened. Let us talk about the first category, that is where the main axis is elongated. In this case, the flowers appear on an elongated peduncle. This category has many subtypes. First, the simple raceme. In this, the main axis is elongated and unbranched. It bears pedicellate flowers in an acropetal succession. The examples of simple raceme are brassica or mustard, delphinium or larkspur, and antirrhinum or snapdragon. The second type of racemose inflorescence is the spike. This is similar to that of a raceme but bears bracteate sessile flowers instead of the pedicellate ones. Examples are amaranthus, gladiolus, nymphophea, etc. Another type of elongated racemose inflorescence is the spikelet. This is a very small spike bearing one or a few flowers or florets. The axis of spikelet is known as rachula. Each spikelet is enclosed at its base by two minute sterile bracts called empty glumes. Slightly higher up, it is enclosed by a third bract called flowering glume or fertile glume, also known as lemma, which bears the sessile flowers. Opposite to each lemma, each spikelet bears a small glume called pallia. Perianth is reduced and represented by two lodicules. Thus, each flower of the spikelet remains enclosed by a lemma and pallia. The spikelets may be arranged in a spike, raceme or panicle and form the characteristic inflorescence of grasses and sedges. Another type of racemose inflorescence is the spadix. This is similar to a spike but has a fleshy axis which is enclosed by a large leaf-like curved bract called as spathe. The spathe can be green, as we can see in erythema, which is known as cobra plant, or it can be brightly colored, as we can see in anthurium, which is commonly known as the boy flower. Spadix are typical of the family Araceae, known as arums or aroids. Catkin is another type of racemose inflorescence. It is also known as amentum. A catkin is like a spike but with long pendulous axis which usually bears naked unisexual flowers subtended by scaly bracts. This is the typical inflorescence of morus or mulberry, salix which is willow, populus or cottonwood, and corylus known as hazelwood. The second category of racemose inflorescence, that is the one in which the main axis is shortened. Due to the shortening of the main axis, the flowers appear in the level-topped cluster instead of the lengthened clusters. The flowers hence appear in the centripetal order because in the order of time the flowering starts with the periphery and proceeds towards the center. This category includes mainly corymb and umbel inflorescences. In corymb, the main axis is shortened and bears pedicellate flowers in such a manner that they are placed almost at the same level. The lower flowers possess longer pedicels as compared to that of the upper ones, which elevates all the flowers to about the same level. The inflorescence thus appears rounded or flat-topped with oldest flowers towards the periphery and youngest in the center of the cluster. The best examples of corymbs are Iberis or candytuft and Crataegus, which is hawthorn. The second type in the category of shortened axis racemose inflorescences is the umbel, in which the main axis is much shorter and suppressed than that of the corymb. The flowers arise from the same point at the top of the common peduncle, and thus all the pedicels are of equal length. This inflorescence appears flat-topped. We now come to the third and last category of the racemose inflorescence, that is where the main axis is flattened. This category is represented by the capitulum. In capitulum, the main axis is flattened into a more or less convex structure called as receptacle. The latter bears numerous small and sessile flowers termed as florets. These florets are arranged in a centripetal manner, that is, youngest flowers in the center and oldest towards the periphery. Each floret is bracteate and the whole inflorescence is surrounded by one or more whorls of bracts collectively called as involucre. The capitulum inflorescence is commonly known as head and is a characteristic of an important family called as Asteraceae. The best examples are sunflower, cosmos, chrysanthemum, marigold, etc. A typical capitulum may consist of two types of florets, that is, ray florets and disc florets. Ray florets are usually arranged on the rim or periphery of this receptacle. They are strap-shaped and generally unisexual, mostly pistillate, but sometimes neuter as well. They are variously colored but usually yellow. The disc florets are usually grouped together in the center. They are tubular and generally bisexual. Ray florets are always zygomorphic, that is, they can be divided into two equal parts through one plane only, while as disc florets are always actinomorphic, that is, they can be divided into two equal halves through more than one plane. The capitulum or head is said to be homogamous if it consists of only one type of florets. The homogamous heads possess either only the ray florets, for example zinnia, or they possess only disc florets, as in Vernonia and Notonia. On the other hand, the capitulum is said to be heterogamous if it consists of two types of florets, that is both ray and disc florets. For example, Cymose and Helianthus or sunflower. The inflorescence becomes conspicuous and attractive due to the brightly colored ray florets. The second main type of inflorescence after the Racemose inflorescence is the Cymose inflorescence. In this type of inflorescence, the growth of main axis is terminated by the formation of a flower. The Cymose inflorescence is also termed as determinate, as against the Racemose inflorescence, which is also termed as indeterminate. The arrangement of flowers in Cymose inflorescence is either basipetal or centrifugal. In some cases, the flowers are produced laterally below the terminal one, and the flowers appear in a basipetal succession, that is from apex to base, with the oldest flower at the apex and youngest towards the base. While in others, the flowers in a cyme become clustered and the maturation or opening of flowers in that case becomes centrifugal, that is, the older flowers are present towards the center and youngest ones towards the periphery, because the flowering starts with the central flower and proceeds in order of the periphery. The Cymose inflorescence is also of many types. The main ones are number 1, solitary cyme. It's the cyme that develops along one axis only. This type of inflorescence is represented by a single flower only. Solitary cymes may be terminal as in papaver, or they can be axillary as we can see in hibiscus. In some cases, one or more flowers arise on a leafless peduncle, also called as scape, usually from a basal rosette. Such an inflorescence is termed as scapose. Such type of inflorescence can be seen in tulips. The second type of Cymose inflorescence is the uniparous or monochasial cyme, in which the main axis terminates in a flower. Subsequently, only one lateral branch axis develops from the axil of a bract at a lower level, which again terminates in a flower. The same type of branching is repeated. Since only one branch develops from below each flower, it's called as monochasial cyme. The monochasial cyme is of two types, helicoid and scopoid. In helicoid monochasial cyme, the successive lateral branches develop on the same side, that is either on the right or left side of the main axis, forming a helix. For example, Hamelia, Drosera and Myosotis show helicoid monochasial cyme type of inflorescence. Helicoid uniparous cymes are again of two subtypes. One, the Drepanium, in which the lateral branches are in the same plane, and second, the Bostrix, in which the lateral branches are in the different plane. The second type of monochasial cyme is the scopoid monochasial cyme, in which the successive lateral branches develop alternately on either side, that is to the right or left side of the main axis, but in a zigzag manner, as we can see in Heliotropium, Solanum, Ranunculus, etc. Scopoid monochasial cymes are again of two subtypes. One, Rhipidium, in which the lateral branches are in the same plane, and Cincinus, in which the lateral branches are in the different plane. The third type of Cymose inflorescence is the biparous or dichasial cyme. In this case, the main axis develops in a terminal flower. Below this flower, two branches develop laterally in the axil of opposite bracts. These branches also end in flowers. Same type of growth is continued. Dichasial cyme is usually found in Jasminum and Epomea. The fourth type of cymose inflorescence is called as multiparous or polychasial cyme. In this type of cymose inflorescence, more than two lateral branches arise from the base of a terminal flower. These lateral branches also end in flowers and the same type of growth is continued. The oldest flower is always present at the center, which dominates the main axis. Polychasial cyme can be found in Calotropis, Nerium, etc. Another type of cymose inflorescence is cymose head. This type of inflorescence is formed by the condensation of the compound axis of a cymose inflorescence to a circular disc. The cymose head bears sessile or subsessile flowers arranged centrifugally in the form of a globose head, with the oldest flower in the center and the youngest towards the periphery, as in Albizia and Acacia. One more type of cymose inflorescence is the fascicle. This is a modification of the cyme. It's a raceme-like or panicle-like inflorescence with pedicellate flowers in which the internodes between flowers are very short. The flowers are very closely crowded on almost the same plane, that is, in a tight bundle or group, as in Dianthus barbatus. Glomerule is an axillary tufted cluster with a centrifugal evolution of sessile and subsessile flowers, in which the internodes between flowers are again very short. It's frequent in the family Lamiaceae. Another kind of definite simple inflorescence is the raceme-like cyme called as botryoid. It appears as a raceme but with a terminal flower and is usually improperly called raceme. All the simple types of inflorescences can form compound types depending upon the type of inflorescence. A compound inflorescence develops from a simple inflorescence in which the single flowers are replaced by a simple inflorescence. In this type of inflorescence, the main axis branches repeatedly once or twice in a racemose or cymose manner, so that the flowers on ultimate branches are again produced in a racemose or cymose manner. The compound inflorescence can be of many types. One is the panicle. Panicle is a branched raceme in which the main axis produces a number of branches which bear pedicellate flowers in acropetal succession, as we can see in yucca and mango. Another compound inflorescence is compound corymb. We can also have compound umbel, compound spadix, compound spike or compound head. After the basic types of inflorescences, we can find some special types of inflorescences. There are some special types of inflorescences found in plants which are formed due to some modification in the opening of flowers. The special types of inflorescences include number 1, cyathium. In this type of inflorescence, the floral axis becomes condensed to form a small conical receptacle which bears reduced flowers without perianth. The latter contains a cup-shaped structure which is formed by the fusion of usually 5 bracts or the involucre. This cup-shaped structure is called as cyathium and it may be green or petalide. The involucral cup bears one or more nectariferous glands at its rim and completely encloses a large number of male flowers and a single centrally placed female flower. Each male flower is represented by a single stamen borne on a short or long pedicel and contains hairy bracts. The female flower is represented by a tricarpillary syncarpous pistil borne on a long pedicel. Style is usually short and contains 3 bilobed stigmas. A distinct joint is present between the pedicel and the essential organ of a flower, which represents the thalamus of the individual flower. Rarely, the region of joint bears some tepals. The flowers mature in a centrifugal fashion. This type of inflorescence is a characteristic of the genus Euphorbia. Another special type of inflorescence is hypanthodium. In this type of inflorescence, the fleshy receptacle forms a hollow, pear or flask-shaped structure with a narrow canal and a small pore at the top. The canal is guarded by downwardly pointed hairs and the pore is surrounded by a few scales. The whole structure encloses flowers in cymose groups. Normal male flowers are present towards the mouth, while as the normal female flowers are present towards the base. In between the 2 sides of the cavity are present female gall flowers. This type of inflorescence is a characteristic of the genus Ficus. For example, fig. An important type of special inflorescence is the Verticilaster. The word Verticilaster means false whorl. In this type of inflorescence, many flowers are arranged in 2 semicircles at opposite nodes. Each semicircle at each node is a highly condensed dichasial cyme type of inflorescence in which the main axis bears 2 opposite bracts at each node. A large flower arises in the axil of each bract, below which are formed 2 smaller flowers on each side, as we can see in a dichasial cyme. All the 3 flowers are either sessile or subsessile. After this point, each dichasial cyme is transformed into a monochasial cyme of scorpoid type. Depending upon the activity, 3 to 9 flowers are formed. Thus, at each node, a whorl or cluster of flowers appears, which is known as a verticillaster. This type of inflorescence is found in the family Lamiaceae, the members of which are Salvia or Ocimum. Another type of special inflorescence is the thyrse. This is a mixed type of many flowered inflorescence with an indeterminate central axis and many opposite lateral dichasia. A raceme in which the single flowers are replaced by cymes is called as an indefinite thyrse, in which the secondary cymes may be of any of the different types of dichasial and monochasial cymes. A botryoid cyme in which the single flowers are replaced by cymes is a definite thyrse or thyrsoid. For the purpose of understanding, we discussed the inflorescence types in plants in 4 broad categories or sections, wherein we came to know about the racemose, cymose, compound and special types of inflorescence. We hope watching this session helps all of you to understand and interpret the various types of inflorescence in a better way. That is what our motive is, and that's what we are committed to. Stay healthy. Goodbye.